first in television news. This is Action 4 Today.
Voters in north central Oklahoma go to the polls and pass a sales tax. Tax opponents go to the airwaves and say no to any new state taxes. And the federal extortion trial of State Senator Mike Combs may go to the jury today. Good morning. It's Wednesday, December 14th. I'm Bella Shaw, filling in for Ben McCain. Randy Allis is filling in for Butch, and Russell Pierson is filling us in on the world of agriculture. And good morning to everybody.
Good morning to you, Bella.
Not as much snow as we kind of thought yesterday.
No, we had a few flurries around. In northeast Oklahoma, it came down a little bit heavier. If you're traveling today, most roads are in pretty good shape. Only a few slick spots on some roads up in northeast Oklahoma. So
okay. That'll be good news to farmers, I guess.
Bet.
And we'll be visiting later with Mike Brunner of the Farmers Home Administration. Russell and I will be talking to him about some farming news. So we do have a full and exciting schedule this morning, and we thank you for watching. Dave Martin from KEBC will be along shortly to give us the musical highlights for the week. A little later, we'll have the latest in the FHA news and the top stories of the day. Residents of Lahoma pass a sales tax increase. That when we return. And good morning again. It's day 3 of the federal extortion trial of State Senator Mike Combs, and attorneys for both sides agree that the case could go to the jury later today. Tuesday's testimony brought some damaging implications against the Bethany Democrat. The evidence came when former Narcotics Bureau Chief Warren Henderson said that Combs had tried to get him to lift an injunction against Richard Riley's business. In a taped conversation, Combs told Henderson the timing of the injunction was bad, and if he could get the injunction postponed, Riley might make a big campaign contribution. This was the first link on tape between political favors made by Combs and a contribution made by Riley. The prosecution should close its case today. The defense says it will not call any additional witnesses. An Oklahoma City newspaper is questioning the spending habits of some nonprofit hospitals. In a copyright story this morning, the Daily Oklahoman reports the hospitals listed country club memberships, artwork, rent on condominiums, and a Hawaiian vacation as hospital expenses. The paper quotes a former FBI agent who investigated the records of St. John's, Hillcrest, St. Francis hospitals in Tulsa, and St. Anthony's in Oklahoma City for the DHS. Former agent William Brown says many expenditures were found in the records which appeared to have little to do with running the hospitals, according to that story in the Oklahoman. Lahoma voters have passed a new 2-cent sales tax, and some say the vote could mean a new tax awareness across the state. The vote in Lahoma did not involve large numbers of voters. The final outcome was 57 in favor of the new tax and 36 opposed. Voters were told the tax revenue would be used for sewer and water systems improvements. Chickasha also approved a similar sales tax approval. Oklahoma political analysts are predicting that despite the size of these communities, these elections might have more than just local implications. They've said it could be considered an indicator of new community awareness of sales taxes and what they can mean, especially in the wake of the special sessions adjournment and huge budget cutbacks in services. After last night's election results were in, Linda Kavanaugh spoke with Action 4's economic analyst, Dr. Will Clark, and asked him what implications the vote could have.
Linda, I don't know if we can read very many general implications from this vote in Lahoma or not.
Economic analyst Dr. Will Clark. Next half hour, we'll look at tax increase opponents that went on public television to denounce taxes. While the national unemployment rate has dropped this year, Oklahoma's has risen. It is only one of 3 states in the country with higher jobless rates this year than last. The past October, the rate stood at 8.1%. A year ago, October, the rate was only 6.3%. State officials say the state was shielded from the national recession until the oil boom turned bust. When America was down, the sooner state was up. Now they say that trend has reversed. U.S. Supreme Court Justice Warren Burger has suggested that America convert its prisons into factories with fences. Oklahoma has decided to take the judge's advice. The State Corrections Department is soliciting private industry for its prisons. The program would be similar to the existing state-run prison industries program, except the new businesses would be privately run. The Private Prison Industries Board thinks the partnership would be profitable to everyone concerned.
The person makes a reasonable wage while working in prison, which allows them to pay us room and board for their incarceration, so we get a benefit out of it. Keeps the inmates busy in a productive workforce. The companies have a ready pool and can operate in a profitable environment. And they can also operate like a private sector, which in many cases we can't do.
The Corrections Department hopes to have a private industry for a state prison within 60 days. Up next on Action 4 today, Randy Ollis has the weather. We'll go to the farm news with Russell. And Dave Martin from KEBC will have the week's music connection. Stay with us.
This is the Action 4 Almanac. We gave this away several months ago. We are going to market this almanac in local IGA and SCAG stores. It should be selling for less than $1 if you'd like one. We have added some things to the almanac. If you want your own wind chill chart, we have a wind chill chart in here. We have a 90-day forecast for the entire winter. Now, it's a very general forecast. We also have a 30-day forecast for the month of December. We get a lot of phone calls from people saying, hey, what happened, last September 27th? We have every day in here from September through October through November, the high, the low, the record high, the record low, sunrise, sunset. This book has quite a bit of information in it, and if you would like it, this time you can pick it up at your local IGA stores and also a couple of SCAG stores here in Oklahoma City and Edmond.
I'd like to have one. It has emergency numbers listed in the front of
That's
the police,
right.
the fire department, and whatnot, and
That's
even
exactly
some
right.
driving tips. When it snows outside, a lot of people in Oklahoma panic behind the wheel.
That's right.
So
we also have a couple of definitions of a jet stream. We have the wind chill chart, as I mentioned, and also some winter definitions. What's a heavy snow warning? What's a blizzard?
what's a squall?
What's a snow squall? That's right. No, it's not what you think it is. It's a very heavy downburst of snow. So we have a lot of winter terms in here, and again, it will be for sale for less than $1.
It looks just like a farmer's almanac in a way.
A little bit it does. It sure does. So we had a good time.
The three pictures on there.
We had a good time
It's a
putting
good
that
idea.
together. So.
About the only thing you don't have in there is a cure for the common cold.
Well, I wish we had that. I'd take that right
will
away
be
if
next.
we could there, yeah.
Tomorrow on Action 4 today, Kevin Ogle will be sitting right here filling in for Ben, and Kevin will have the music of John Arnold, and Friday we'll hear about the Big Brothers Big Sisters organization. Darlene Kidd will be here to tell us about that. Now let's check in with Russell for today's farm markets.
Well, these farm markets today, or yesterday, of course, that's what we're reporting today, is what happened yesterday. Some of the livestock slipped a little. The price of quality grain-fed cattle and hogs both went down yesterday, sagged some, but slaughter lambs continued to gain a level.
Okay, Russell, thank you. When we get back, Bob Berry has the Wednesday morning sports, and we'll see a Santa that only special people can hear. Well, Dave Martin from KBC, our favorite. Martin must be out in outer space somewhere. He didn't show up today. We'll try to have him on later. Well, it's 6:19 on a Wednesday morning. Just a time for sports with Bob Berry.
That's sports for this morning.
Bob, a record-setting late score in from the NBA. Detroit beat Denver by a score of 186 to 184. That's the highest scoring game in NBA history. The game went into 3 overtimes. Unbelievable. It's easy for most of us to forget that for the deaf, Christmas is truly a silent night. But there's one man that never forgets. He's a special Santa for very special people. Sherry Sellers has the story.
Sherry Sellers, Action 4 at North Park Mall.
When we return, Mike Brunner from the Farmers Home Administration will join us. Mike will tell us about the FHA and what it has been doing. Randy Ollis is next with the weather. This is Action 4 today. Stay with us. That is chilly. You know,
Sure
Randy,
is.
our guest this morning, Mike Brunner from the Farmers Home Administration, National Office, #2 man in Washington, has something in common with you.
What's that?
He's also from Ohio, from Cleveland.
Oh, great. Don't hold that against him here, but
Yeah.
super.
But he lives in Washington, D.C. now, and he's in Oklahoma, and he's traveling throughout the state, visiting the different FHA offices here. And explain what you're doing.
Well, really, Bill, I'm here to commend the Farmers Home employees in Oklahoma for the fine job they've done this year. There's about 280 of them. They're having a state meeting in Oklahoma City. And I've really worked very, very hard and have done very well for Farmers Home and for the farmers in Oklahoma. And we want to tell them in Washington we appreciate it, and that's why I'm here.
As far as the national policy for farmers might be concerned, what is the top issue right now that the farmers are asking questions about and coming to you with problems?
Probably the biggest issue on a lot of people's minds, and it's gotten a lot of national media attention, is the foreclosure issue. And there's a perception by some that Farmers Home is foreclosing on many farmers, and of course that's not true. In fact, we were able to keep this last year better than 97% of our farmers in business. And keep in mind that Farmers Home lends to the riskiest farmers, those who can't get credit elsewhere. In Oklahoma, we had an even better record. 98% were kept in business, and we feel that's a pretty solid record for any agency, but especially Farmers Home with the riskiest farmers and a bad farm economy.
Why do you think Oklahoma appears to fare better than other states?
Well, there's probably a lot of factors, and it's hard to single one out, but I would say one is the fine job that Larry Stevenson, State Director, and his staff have done. They have a very heavy workload in the state. They've worked very, very hard. They have tough jobs. They've done them well, and we're proud of those people.
Now, in Oklahoma, what type of loans do the farmers have the greatest demand for?
Probably the greatest one here is across the country as well is the basic farm operating loan. And this is a loan to buy feed and seed and fertilizer, just a farm. And the administration has more than doubled the amount of farm operating loans in the last 3 years. The current budget provides $1.8 billion for that one program.
That sounds sort of like a loan just to sort of keep going.
It's generally an annual operating loan to buy the feed, to put the crop in the ground, things like that, and to keep a lot of farmers going. And we have about 100,000 of them borrowing for that farm operating program.
Well, that brings up my next question for those people who have come to you and borrowed money. What's the success ratio in getting that money paid back? Are they able to meet their obligations on their bills?
In large part, yes. With the bad farm economy in the last few years, we have had higher than normal delinquencies. But again, Oklahoma is below the national average. And we have a very tight delinquency definition, so more fall in that category than other lenders. But overall, most are paying their bills, and we're working with the ones who can't. We have a variety of tools we're using to keep farmers in business. Secretary Block has said, go the extra mile, help farmers if we can, and we're doing that, and we're proud of it.
Mike, since you are from Washington, is there anything going on there nationally that is going to affect our farmers here in the state?
Well, probably, I don't know if it'll be a great effect here, but of course we've had a great deal of drought this last year. And that has affected some states greater than others. And we've worked with that. Some states are very heavy hit. I think Oklahoma's had 16 counties they've requested a designation for disaster loans. We've already taken care of a majority of those and are providing loans now to farmers.
The Corn Belt area also, that cause any budget problems with the drought there?
Well, no, because that program is open-ended in the sense that we can't predict ahead of time what the weather's going to do, obviously.
That's true.
And therefore, we have a program that allows us to lend to as many farmers as qualify for the program. In some years, it's very great, in some years, it's smaller. But that way, we will never run out of money for the disaster program, which we think makes sense.
It does make sense. You can't predict the weather unless, of course, you get one of those almanacs that Randy Ellis was talking about earlier. Thank you very much for joining us this morning, all the way from Washington, D.C. Hope you enjoy your visit in Oklahoma.
Thank you.
Coming up, Russell Pierson has today's farm news, and Bob Berry looks at women's basketball in Weatherford. The sports is next. Tomorrow on Action for Today, I'll be sleeping in. Kevin Ogle will be filling in for Ben. Kevin will have a song from country singer John Arnold. Friday, we'll hear about the Big Brothers Big Sisters organization from director Darlene Kidd. The McCains return to the show next week. Some of their guests will include entertainer Richard Williams, psychologist Kay Gable, 4-H award winners from across the state, and KJ 103's Mark Shannon. Hopefully the McCains will be nice and tan when they get back. One from skiing, one from sunshine, a little bit of ocean activity. You won't say which way.
Frostbite and sun blisters.
That's right.
Probably both of them. Had a good run of livestock at the Oklahoma City Market yesterday.
When we get back, Randy Ellis has a complete weather forecast and tax critics on television with economic forecasts of their own. The news is next. The federal extortion trial of State Senator Mike Combs could go to the jury today. Tuesday's testimony brought the most damaging implications yet against the Bethany Democrat. The evidence came in the afternoon when former Narcotics Bureau Chief Warren Henderson testified that Combs had tried to get him to lift an injunction against admitted drug dealer Richard Riley's business. In a taped conversation, Combs told Henderson the timing of the injunction was bad, and if he could get the injunction postponed, Riley might make a big campaign contribution. This was the first link on tape between political favors made by Combs and a contribution by Riley. The prosecution is expected to close its case today, and the defense says it won't call additional witnesses. An Oklahoma City newspaper is questioning the spending habits of some nonprofit hospitals. In a copyright story this morning, the Daily Oklahoman reports the hospitals listed country club memberships, artwork, rent on condominiums, and a vacation in Hawaii as hospital expenses. The paper quotes a former FBI agent who investigated the records of St. John's, Hillcrest, and St. Francis hospitals in Tulsa and St. Anthony's in Oklahoma City for the DHS. Former agent William Brown says many expenditures were found in the records which appeared to have little to do with running the hospitals, according to the Oklahoman. Lahoma voters have passed a new 2-cent city sales tax, and some say the vote could indicate a new tax awareness across Oklahoma. The vote in Lahoma did not involve a large number of voters. The final outcome was 57 in favor of the new tax and 36 opposed. Voters were told the tax revenue would be used for badly needed sewer and water systems improvements. Voters in Chickasha also approved a similar sales tax. Despite the relatively small size of these communities, some Oklahoma political analysts are predicting the elections might have more than just local implications. They say it could be considered an indicator of new community awareness of sales taxes and what they can mean, especially in the wake of the special session's early adjournment and huge budget cutbacks in services. Some influential Oklahomans went on public television last night to condemn talk of new state sales taxes. OETA, Channel 13, provided anti-tax spokesmen with an opportunity to give their side of the issue. State Representative Frank Davis of Guthrie and Charles Ford of Tulsa, along with F.M. Petrie, co-chairman of the Taxpayer Survival Team, appeared on the OETA's The People's Business program. They answered questions by Oklahomans concerned about the state's financial crisis. All three men applauded lawmakers for not raising taxes, and all felt spending cuts should be made.
There's been a lot of talk about schools having to cut back and lay off teachers and cut out programs and all that. And I really think that's scare talk. I don't think that's going to happen at all.
While the national unemployment rate dropped this year, Oklahoma's rose. It is one of 3 states with higher jobless rates this year than last. This past October, the rate stood at 8.1%. A year ago, October, the rate was only 6.3%. State officials say the state was shielded from the national recession until the oil boom turned bust. When America was down, the Sooner State was up. Now they say that trend has reversed. The oil industry is helping the medical profession. Beginning January 1st, oil planes will be helping doctors perform transplants. In all such operations, transporting organs quickly is crucial for successful transplants. As Sherry Sellers reports, the use of oil planes will save valuable time and lives.
Sherry Sellers, Action 4.
That's a good story.
You bet.
Okay, Randy, what can we expect midway through this week?
What would you like to have this week?
I would like to have just pleasant, not really cold, just nice and
Just
pleasant. Not windy. See, that wind adds that little chill that goes right through your bones.
That's right. We're pretty good this morning. A little bit cold, but not much wind out there. And we're going to be, I think, kind of chilly the next couple of days. No rain.
Thank you. And we'll be back in just a moment. A little bit of information. It was the pilots who first discovered the jet stream during World War II, flying up there, Interesting, this weather
The new almanac.
Available at some IGA stores, a couple of SCAG stores.
That's right. And we have all kinds of weather terms in there, a wind chill chart and everything else, and they will be on sale, as you mentioned, at local IGA stores and a couple of SCAG stores for less than $1.
That sounds
These
good to me.
supermarkets are kind of large. Where are they going to find it in the store?
At most stores, they'll be right next to the cash register. So they
Easy to find.
You bet, right there for you.
Okay. Well, I enjoyed filling in the last few days. I'll be watching you gentlemen tomorrow morning when Kevin Ogle fills in.
We've enjoyed having you here this week.
Sympathizing with us for having to get up early.
Yes.
Okay.
You'll be thinking about us tomorrow, I'm sure.
I certainly will. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.
Robinwood Farm and Ranch Center.